Next we'll see is about the time module. Time is one of the built-in module. If you want to know the list of attributes, we can ask for DAR. DAR will give you the list of attributes. You can see that it is saying about the clock, monotonic type, boot time. These are like constants. Anytime when attributes are coming, if something is in all capital letters, there are some constants. And if there are others, it can be either functions or variables. As they were like ready-made constants, means the clock, thread, CPU, time ID, clock, process ID, clock, real time. So we can ask like, if you want that. So time dot, a constant. What are these constants representing? All that information. If you want, you can ask for the help. Help will give the detailed documentation. In fact, when Python was created, so for the time, this is the default module. So it has like only few functionalities, but it works perfect. On top of it, a couple of other modules were created over a period of time. But so it's still, this time module has its essence. If we can start about this time module first, every time whenever you are working with a time, so you need to be aware of certain things about the time zone, what is a time zone, what are the different time zones, and all this information. If you see the time zones, what is this concept of time zones basically? Means the entire world is divided into different times because sun will not rise at the same time for all the world. At different times it will sunrise. So everyone need to see like the daytime and the evening in their corresponding thing. So that's the reason world was divided to different time zones. So and there are certain places where even in summer and winter you will have the same time zone. So example India, we don't have like a daylight savings or something. But if you see vast majority of the other things, so they have like more of the day in the summers and more of the night in the winters. So due to that, they have a daylight saving. So to accommodate all these things, we should be a bit aware of what all the different time zones and how it works. Because primarily we work on that. So first, to be aware of where you are located means when your system is located somewhere, your laptop or your server where you are working, it will have that information. First, if you want to know that information, there is something called as ALT zone. So it is saying that ALT zone is 0. So if you go at the same thing for like India, it will tell like, I am how much seconds it is away. Right now I was in the UK time zone. So that's the reason it is giving 0. Means with respect to the 0, so how it actually works is we should be aware. The UTC time zone is the central point for the entire world. This is not something like a physical thing. It was a human beings created this. The world is a continuous globe, but there should be some center point. As like British people have created a lot of maps, they thought like, so UTC is the center point. So, and from there, like everything will work. So time zones before it are called as plus 1 hour, plus 2 hours like that. Means, so they get like a big sunlight first, followed by UTC, followed by the next. It is a continuous process. So with respect to UTC, how far your time zone is, that's what it tells. But fortunately, I was at the exact time zone. That's why you're seeing 0. So, and for this particular time zone, if you want to know the time zone information, so I can ask like, hey, what is the time zone? It is again saying 0. So if you are asking for so India or something, then it will give like how far it is. If it is India, it will say like minus 1908, means those many seconds from the GMT time. And similarly, if you ask, hey, what is the time zone right now? Time zone you asked, and the time zone, every time zone has a name. So it is like UTC, UTC. UTC is the time zone which I am part of. But if you are going for different time zones, correspondingly, you will see that time zone information. So this is all about that time zone based information first. Now, if I am going for this time, I need this time of the current timestamp. If I want the current time, so then what I will do, I can ask for the time dot time. Basically, if I ask time dot time, it's very interesting. So before that, let me tell you time dot time. It will tell what is the time. But time means like you like 11 hours to 2, 3, 4 like this we need to know. But what is this number? So let me give the same thing in a print. In a print also you are seeing the thing. So what is this concept? This is called as a timestamp. What is this timestamp means? There is something called as in time zones. So when the actual time zones, when they have created, if you see this concept of times and time zones, which was created just to help us. But like for every time, if you are mentioning like different times, let's say someone will tell that, hey, what is the time round means? 1:30 p.m. Someone will say. So if you ask the same time with another person, they will say like 1:30. So both are same. Or like if you are asking, hey, what is the date and time? Someone will say like, 22nd June. So 2023, 23, and like that. And some other people will say like, same June 22nd, 2023. And someone else will say like, 2023, say June, and like, so 22. Don't you think like all the same? But human beings can understand if people say in any way. But missions cannot understand, right? Missions need a common format, no matter how you give. To store that common format, they have taken this as a timestamp. Timestamp means there is something called as epoch time that you should be aware. What is this epoch time? What is this epoch time converter? Means the they have taken like the ADBC era, like Saka era, like the different eras. Means the moment Jesus was born, that was they treated like a AD, right? And before that, before Christ, like that they have decided. In the same fashion, in the 1970s, around 1969-70, the first computer was created. So they have taken that as an array, and from that date, how many seconds were completed. So if you see, like for us to human beings to understand, so this is the current timestamp. Epoch time means from 1970, so 1970 Jan 1st onwards, how many things were completed. If you give like any year, so from that it will tell. If I say like 1970, so first, first, all first, if I say 00, 00, if I say AM, so you can see like, so how many seconds were passed, epoch time. Because like here I already gave 1 hour, right? So Monday 1 hour I gave. If I give like a 0, so then it will give exactly. Means from 1970 Jan 1st onwards, how many seconds were passed? That is what it is giving. Okay, sir, but how, if you want to localize it? So we can go for the same thing for a different time zones. Means like the same time, if you want, I can give in the other ways also. Means the local time I can ask, what is the GMT time I can ask. For that we have. If you see the time dot time, I got like unique time, right? So it is a timestamp which is a seconds. But if I am trying to localize, so maybe like I'll place it separately. So did you see that I am getting something called as time structure? What do you mean by time structure, sir? Means it's like a data type on its own. It has all this information individually. Means from this data object, we can get individually. So like, what is the hours? What is the minutes? Is there a daylight saving right now? All that information we can ask. So it's like a time tuple we say, or time structure we say. Apart from that, if you want to get that this local time or GM time for a different time, so we can get the same thing there also. Okay, we have given this timestamp, which is a current timestamp. So that's why we got like 2023. So, so what is the month? What is the day? So 20th. So month is 5, means like May. So hours, minutes, seconds, everything you got. At the same time, for the same GMT, instead of current time zone, I give some other number. If I give that number, I will get the time of that particular thing. Means in 1970 only, so January only, so these many things happen. And if I try the same thing for a local time zone, means whichever is your local time zone, you will get that information. So as of now, like for me, both are same, so it makes no difference. But for you, it will be very different. Okay, sir, this is fine. But it is not readable for human beings, right? Human beings cannot understand these things. So can you give in a human understandable format? So human readable. So time. If you want that, so that's where we need to go for this one. So means you have the GM time and others. That's what we know till now. If you don't give anything to this GM time, it will give the current time. What is the current time? That it will give. Now what I'm asking, for that GM time, I need to pass to this ASC time. This is what you need to be aware. ASC time means as C time, you should call it as. C time is the most common format actually. So everyone knows in computing language. So Saturday, May 20th. So 3 hours, and this is the date. This is the common format of C times. So whatever the time you give, it can convert to that. And similarly, if I give like a convert to a local time zone, means at this moment, local time and GM time are same for me. So you can see that. And similarly, if for the same ASC time, if you don't give also, it will give the current time in the C time format. Now you understood this concept of C time. So every time you're asking like as C time. If you are given any time, it will convert to like a C time. So if you directly give C time, means it will give the current date and time as a C time. But like there is a slight difference. So as C time means like convert to that format. If you give anything, it will convert. Whereas the C time directly will take like any numbers. If you give any timestamp, it will convert to the C time. So, and it will show. So these were the only few options we have at that time. But if you want further about this time, so as I told you, there are like two types of things. So till now we are seeing time. That's the only thing that we have. Similarly, there is another thing called as time. If you see that time nanoseconds is there. This time nanoseconds, if you can see, did you see what happened? The total time it is giving in a milliseconds actually. By default, you will not get any seconds. So it will get in seconds. But if you give like this, it will give in nanoseconds. That's the primary difference between these two. So after this, if I can walk through, the next thing about this is that the performance and measurements. So these are the two things. Means like say if you want the execution to be paused for some time. Maybe like you are executing a long command. This command may execute for like 1-2 minutes. For that you want to pause the execution. Whenever you want to pause the execution, so we can go for a command. Let's say I have print statement 1. Similarly, I have statement 2. Now, if I execute both, what will happen? Both will execute, right? But if the same thing I am executing, before that I have placed like a time.sleep. Time.sleep. If I give, if say like, for 5 milliseconds, it will wait and then it will execute the next statement. So means if you give anything, it will execute for that much time. I repeat the same thing. If I am like before passing, and if I tell like 2 seconds, it will pass for that amount of time, then it will give the new time. And before that, so one more thing I forgot to tell. So about these times, You know, what are the times we are generating, date time or whatever local time, whatever you have, right? So for this time, we can do some kind of formatting time. So till now, you know that the only way formatting is the C time. That's the only thing you know. If you are given a time, you can get to a particular format. So first, if I want to get the local time or time.time, both will give the same thing. If I print it, it will give the timestamp or the time, time structure. But if I want in a particular format, I need to use, so there is something called as time.strf time. So observe very carefully. There are two things called as strf and strp. Strf time means string formatting time. So what are the time you have? The time term object that you pass. So apart from your object, you need to pass one string. This is very much needed. And this is the string where you need to specify what you want. And did you see here, I didn't specify anything, so I got nothing. But observe carefully, I will do some interesting part. If you have a date time object, so some time object, from that if you want only the year, you need to say percentile capital Y. So I got only the year. Say like after this, I want to add some month also. If I say hyphen B, did you see that I got a month as a thing? But if you want the same month like a number, you can go percentile M. And if you want the same month in like a capitals, uh, so like a word, but like capital B if I give. Did you see that? The May capital came like that. Or if I get like, more details. So means like if I want years, so like date. So then like if I want hours, percentile H. So if I colon percentile, so minute, colon percentile seconds. If I give like that, so I get like the year, month, date, hours, minute, seconds. So like that, you can format in your own way, whatever way you want. So if you are given a date time and if you want to format as per your need, this is one way of doing it. Next, so one more thing, so we need to see is about after formatting. Say like you have some data and you are executing for some time and you want to measure the total time. So for that, this is more important. So measuring time taken. So this we created, you remember we created a decorator also for taking the measuring the total time taken. So for the measuring the total time taken, say like I can, if you ask like time.time, I get my time, right? So after some time, if I ask a time.time, it will give one more time. So means like every time it is giving. So can I make it like, start time is equal to time.time and I do some operation. Maybe like, I execute some code. Something like I execute something like this. See here, sum of range of these many values. So first it will generate those values. It will loop over it, get all values and sum it. So I just want to see. Now I want to take end time is equal to again time.time I wrote. Now if I can calculate time taken, if I want to know time taken, so time taken colon, can I do like end time minus start time? If I execute right now, did you see how much time it is taking? So this is how it works. But for the same thing, there are like different kinds of things to work. If you want to know the CPU time or like processing time, there are different ways. So for this particular calculation, they say that by default you can go, but there are better options like so performance counter. So there is something called as performance counter. If you use performance counter, it is more granular, they say. For the same example, if I'm using that, did you see that? You got a value which is much more granular. But this also will give you in a milliseconds, seconds. But if you want, for this also there is something called as nanoseconds. Means it will calculate the total time taken difference in nanoseconds. So it will give the value in a nanoseconds. So, but like if you want to know the CPU execution times, so in that case, we should go for something called as process time. So this is another kind of counter. For the same thing we can use. So I can take and I can ask. Maybe like I will do the same example to get it to see. So CPU execution time, how much time it is taking. It's like the same. There are three types of ways: time.time, performance counter, and process time. So mostly people use like performance counter for calculating how much time it is taking. So even for the sleep or everything, you can calculate that. Now after this, performance counters. So we have seen the examples of working with a different kinds of modules, right? We created a decorator also to calculate the time taken. So using this, we can do. Next, after this date time module, there is another thing called as date time module. What is the purpose of this date time module? So, before that, there is something called as timeit, right? Yeah. So what is this timeit module? How it can help us? So for us to understand, if let's say there is some X logic, that logic is executing for some time that I want to calculate. Let me go in a terminal. In a terminal, I want to check how much time a particular logic is executing. So in terminal, if I want to execute, there is one good option to do like this. So you see what I'm doing here. Maybe like I can save it. So under this, I can save like, command line. .py file I'm taking, and maybe like here itself I am placing the entire thing. Okay, so now it's easy. Let me explain one after the other. If let's say I have a logic, so if logic I want to execute and check how much time it is taking. So then in Python we can use different things. If you remember in Python, I told -a interactive executing, -c if you have a command. Like that, if you do -h, there were a lot of options in fact. So, but like if you want any module to execute, there is something called as Python -m. So one of that module is timeit. By default, any module will be coming. But if some modules, if you need to install, then install and use it. So when you didn't give anything, did you see what happened? It is saying that I have executed for 50, so 50 lakhs, right? So something. So those many number of times it has looped. And in those things, what is the best time it is taking? It said like, for each loop, it took these many seconds, it's saying. But if you give any logic, it will execute for that much time and tell what is the best among it. So if this is the logic I have, I am asking, hey, tell me what is the best time? Means for this particular thing, you are giving that, you are generating the values like this, and you are passing like in a generator, and you are asking. So for this particular process, it is saying like, hey, this is the best. So 2.01 nanoseconds. And in the same fashion, if I ask the same thing here, it will tell like how much time it took there. So for this strategy, or like, so this is all kind of like a generator. So if I place like, so like a list comprehension, means first to generate the values and pass that, right? So first I did it like a generator, and this is like this. Now, did you see in this particular example, a list comprehension took less time compared to a generator, right? So that is the difference between these two. So that's what we should be aware of. In the same fashion, the same logic can be done in other ways also. If I execute using a map, so it telling that what? Oh, I placed a hyphen before it. How much time it took for it. So like that, there were different options given for this timeit. So primarily timeit is designed for working in the interactive mode. But do you really think that you work in an interactive mode every time? In a command line will not work, right? So every time. But if you want to work in a command line, you can use it. So any operation. So here there were some options that you should be aware of. After timeit, you can specify how many times you want to execute that statement, how many times you want to repeat it. So by default, it has a n number of times to execute, but how many times you need to repeat also we can give. And any setup means before executing any variables to define like that you can do. And in the output, what units you want, like in nanoseconds, microseconds, that you can specify. If you see this example, we have done till now. So we are telling that, hey, loop for 20 times only. So it did saying that, 20 loops and best of 5 it is giving. By default, it will repeat for 5 times. It is saying what? This test is very unreliable because like you are running for very small number of times. Then like, if I do hyphen u hyphen r is equal to 15, means repeat for 15 times. Now, did you see earlier it is best of 5, but now it is best of 15 times, means 20 it loops. So this particular loop or code is executed consecutively for 20 times. So, and you get one best. Like that, again repeat, like that 15 times you repeat. So 15 into 20, that much times it execute and gives the best result. So minimum among them. So like that, you can give how you results you want. All of that you can specify in the outputs. So this is all about this timeit. But timeit is this is only one side of the story. Timeit is also used for like within the commands. Whenever you want to take like how much time it is calculating and all, so we can use. So for that, let me open in a Python script. So similarly, in a Python script also we can do. In a Jupyter notebook also it can helpful. Let me show that too. In a Python script. So first we need to import that timeit. So we can ask like how much time it is taking. So what are the logic I have? So maybe like, I have a logic like this. Observe carefully. So timeit will take everything like a string, no matter what you have. So even you remember, eval is one function I told some time back. If you give any logic to eval, you need to give like a string. If you give, it will give execute it. So if I execute it, even eval also executes it in the terminal. So in the backend, timeit also uses the eval in the backend. Eval is a function which I discussed already also. If you give anything logic like a string, it will execute. So whatever you should give, it's like a string it should give. So if you see the output, this is the output. And whatever I executed in a command line, the same thing we can execute here also. Means like I can pass the same logic whatever I have. So this logic, copy the same logic. Maybe like I will write like a logic so that you can better reuse, right? In future, if you have something also, we can use it. So I will write that as a logic and I will pass that logic to here as an input. Then it's easy for us to understand and digest. Similarly, if you want to calculate the total time taken, so what you can do for the logic to execute, before and after you can write like, start time. Start time is equal to time dot performance counter. So time module we need to do, and we need to do like a big amount of stuff. So time dot like performance counter, maybe like nanoseconds, and then we need to execute and take like time taken. So this is like extra time we need to do. Time taken column time dot performance counter nanoseconds minus start time. So this much logic you need to execute to traditionally get, but still there is an issue. Okay, it is a function call. If I do now, you got it, right? These many nanoseconds. But instead of doing like this, in one shot you can do using timeit. Using timeit, what you can do? So timeit dot timeit of what are the logic you have. You give it. It will tell you like how much time it took. So don't you think like this is much better? It is saying like it is executing and it is giving the exact time. And on top, if you do like an ordinary execution, you need to take the extra responsibility of executing for 10 times or 15 times, how many times to repeat, get the best result, how much time, what is the main, what worst. All those things we cannot do in an ordinary thing. Whereas in timeit, we can do that. So in timeit, you just give the logic and it can execute. Or like not only that, along with your logic, you can specify how many times to repeat. If I say like, it should run for like 10,000 times. If I give like that, it will execute for 10,000 times and give you the result. And similarly, not only that, you can tell like, repeating how many times to repeat and all those things you can give. And also, if you have like other logics also, you can specify. Say like I have a different logic to execute. All those logics I'm giving. So in each logic, how much time it is taking, that it will give. So did I miss anything? Yeah, it is saying that a number is not a valid argument for print. Oh, number should not be part of print. It should be part of that logic, right? So this one within the time. You see now? So whatsoever logic you have, different logics are there. Each logic, how much time it is taking, that we can know. So this is all about timeit that we have seen just now. In the same fashion, there is also like a timeit.repetition means, so how much times I want to repeat for getting the best result. So like timeit, we can give a repeat also. So if you do like a repeat, it will repeat for that amount of times and give you the best result. And also see here, so by default, it is repeating for the times. Did you see that it is giving 5 results repeat? So timeit will give only result. Timeit.repeat will give 5 results. But in addition, for the repeat, it can take the extra argument of repeat. So by default, this repeat is like 5 only. But if you give a repeat of say some 10 times or like, some 3 times if I give. Now, if you see the last result, so it will be changing. So it will give only 3 results. So like that, you can add that. And lastly, so there is also called as like a timeit.timer. If I pass like timer, means like generally whenever you want to calculate the time taken, so we can do also called as garbage collector.enable or disable. So what actually happens is like you need to understand the backend story. When we are running program in the backend, it also will take some time to do. Means like there is a garbage collector which will check for any unreferenced objects and it will continuously delete them. So to better handle it, so we need to pass that garbage collector if you want to know the performance optimization. Also that there is another options also to see further. So in Python there is something called as -o. This is another option actually. Whenever you are running any command, if you run like this, it will run in an optimized mode. Seems like now it was no more there. Optimized mode, earlier it used to be there. Anyhow, when you're going for performance optimization, I will tell that. And similarly, so not only that, so it can work with different kinds of things. Mainly, I will focus on the Jupyter notebooks as we work on it a lot. So timeit usage.ipynb. In Jupyter notebook, how we can use? So, okay. So in Jupyter notebook, it is something interesting. We call it as a magic blocks. In Jupyter notebook, we need to understand this concept of magic blocks. Everything will be working with these magic blocks and the scenario will be like that. If I can observe, yes. Okay. So what is this concept of magic blocks? Just we need to be aware. If I do like 2 plus 3, how much time it will take? Very less time, right? It doesn't matter. Or else let me take a very complicated thing. 2 to the power of 128. It's a big operation, right? For this big operation, if I want to know how much time it is taking, so I can write like a time. So there are two types of things. So magic blocks and like another things. One hash, 1 percentile, 2 percentiles like that. If I write like 1 percentile and give a time, you see here time is also there, time it is also there. And if I do the same operation, now did you see what happened? How much CPU time? So what is the wall time? And also you are getting your result. Similarly, means what is the purpose I will tell you. Let me define now two lines. Initially I defined n equal to so and so because for assignment also it will take some time. Then for this computation also it will take time. If I want to know how much time it is taking for this line to execute, I can do like this. Similarly, not only that, I can even for a print statement or anything I can ask how much time it gonna take. It will tell like how much time it will take and we will get that. Yeah, you see here for hello world also how much time it is taking. Or similarly, I go with any other operations. So we can see each time, each operation, how much time something is taking. If I go for a bigger operation, it will take like more time. So that's we can see. You see here, if I go furthermore bigger number, see here, there is nothing limit in Python, right? In fact, if your CPU supports, so means you have that much heap memory, you can do any large operations, but it will take some time. So till now, we use the time module for getting all our work done. We didn't use that time it. In the same fashion, so time it also we can use. But did you see that we never imported the time or date time? Yes. This is a Jupyter notebook functionality. The moment you install Jupyter, this kind of magic cells are ready automatically and we can use them. So till now we use the time for getting all of things. Now I am using the time it. So for the time it also, let me try. I use time it and write a class. Means I am not doing anything, right? Just to make some syntax to be there, I wrote time it. So time is different from time it. Time tells how much time it executed, whereas time it will execute, repeat, and those many times it will do and give you the best result among those. Did you see how many times it executed? These many loops it executed and it gave you the best result. And similarly, so what's our examples you did in the top? We can repeat the same here. Maybe like, this big result I have, right? So let me write that. Instead of a time, let me use time it. Now we see it will crazily take a lot of time because the same operation it need to do repeat those many times and give you the max of result, right? It is saying like 77 milliseconds. So it is like 74, right? So on average it gave like 77. So it means that's the difference between these two. Or like I can tell, so maybe like I'm taking two statements and I'm asking the is operation. So if I do like is operation, will it take more time? Or end operation, or which operations? And similarly, if you want it to repeat for some times, so that I can write there itself. Or like I do some executions, and if I want to calculate, you see that I did like a time dot sleep for 2 seconds, and I'm asking. So similarly, I can go for the previous one, the sum of range of 100, how much time it is executing. So, still that above result didn't execute. Means every time it will sleep for 2 seconds and that should repeat for this much time for one loop. What is the value? You may ask me, sir, here also we didn't give much options. It repeated for these many loops. Whereas here it repeated for these many loops with only one loop. Why? Because so by default it has a thing that when it is executing for large time, it will not do more amount of loops. But if you specify that mentionally, so then it will do that much time. So like that. So so here I mentioned like n equal to 1. N1 means like n equal to 1. So that's the main thing. And apart from that, so if you see the last option also, oh my God, it will repeat again that much number of times. So this is all about a single block. So, and even if you go for the next line also, it will execute only for that single block. So if within your code in a Jupyter notebook, for a single line, if you want to do something, that is like a magic. But if you want to enter a block to be doing some magic, that's where the magic blocks comes. Now, if you see, I am writing in the starting as two percentiles and time it. This is a magic block where it will execute the entire program, means all the lines, and it will tell how much time it took. Here, if you have 10 lines also, for whatever line you configured, for that line only it will tell. Whereas in this double hash percentiles, it will do like for the entire cell. These are called as magic cells. So if you write in the starting or if you write somewhere, so if it is a single hash is for that particular line only, means not for generating the entire lines, only for this sorting how much it took, that it tells. Whereas if I go for like a block level, then for the entire block how much time it took. So that's what it tells. That's the difference between these two. In the same fashion, so we can do for a different operations. So one good example is like string concatenation. So if you go for like a example string concatenation. So a string concatenation can be done in different ways. So one good example is using f strings. If you have two strings, I can use an f string, right? If using f strings also, I can join it. Or like I can have two separate strings and also I can join. So this is a old traditional way of doing. That also we can do. Or similarly, I can go for like a delimiter dot join to join the results and get it. But overall, if you see all these options, you will get some clarity. You see now, when you have like direct F strings, so that is the most fastest. It is saying like 99 seconds only. 99. So it took like more in my system, but here it took like just 99.5. If I can make note of it, or like even if I don't write also here we have it, leave it. So here also you see here, it is taking like 130. So whereas here in the third case, you see how much time it's gonna take. So I think like system is doing much faster than my system. This is like a delimiter dot join, which will take further less time. And if you see like F strings, before F strings we have like old style formatting, right? So that also I will try using old style formatting. If I see it is taking that some amount of time, and also the using new style formatting also I will do. So finally, I want to compare the results of all, and we will come to some conclusion. So you see that the minimum it took for the F strings is like 99. So for others, it is 130. If you do a delimiter dot join 151, if I do like a wholesale formatting is 219, crazy. And if I do like a F strings, sorry, old new style formatting, it is taking like this. So overall, if I can see, so where it is taking more, where it is taking less. So it is taking very less in the F strings. So that's why one good conclusion is whenever you are working, so it's better to go for like F strings. F strings are like most fastest among all. And apart from that, there is one more option. If you want to join two strings, that is using the string templates. If you remember the string module which I worked earlier, there is like a string joins also. Using that also we can do. But did you see like how much it took? This is the minimum of all, 2.41 microseconds, which is the least among all. So that's why this is an underdog. Don't undermine it. It also can do a lot of things for us. So this is all about this. And apart from that, so not only this, we can do the profiling too. If you want to do profiling, so till now we have seen the concept of timeit, how it can help us. So using direct timeit also we can use, or indirectly using what we have done in the previous script. Like that also we can use. I can import and I can ask like how much time it took. So you are individually asking. So like this also we can do, like numbers, we can do a repetition, everything we can do here also. Because it's ultimately it's a Python code. We can do whatever we can do in ordinary way. Or in a Jupyter notebooks, we have the advantage of going for the other way, right? Like that also we can go. And also when it is going, so repetition means what? By default, it will do 5 repetitions and give us. But if you pass a repetition option, you can do decide how much. But if you want the minimum value, I can pass a minimum called as in the minimum, it will tell how much time it takes. But if you want to know at what stage it is taking more time, what stage it is taking less time, there is something called a cProfiler. This is most important. I got to initially doubt. I am working in Python, right? What is the C profile to do? I thought like there should be a Python profiler, right? But the name itself is cProfiler. Don't worry. So if you do cProfiler.run, each time what is happening? When you execute the background, first it will create the list. So then like it will do the attributes and all these things. At each stage, how much things it is happening. So all that information it will give. So if you want to know further and work on this cProfiler, so it's a very good and interesting option. So there are different options for it. You can just walk through it. Call as number of calls, total time, per call. So all these options it is giving. So that's what you're seeing, the same options. So the C profile, not only here, down the line also you can use whenever you are working. And lastly, after this, all these times and the basic things done, so we have the next module, which is the date time. So with this, we understood till now the basic operations. But in real world, there were a lot of options which are not provided with this time and timeit. For that, they introduced one more built-in module called as date time. This is a very interesting module because like you will learn really good amount of things from it. So it is such a big module that similar to time, they created one more thing called as date time. Time is designed mainly for working with the times. But like if you want to work with the dates alone or like time alone or like both of them together, we need to have better options. For that, they created this extra module. So it's there from Python 2 onwards, but they have a lot of options. If you see the DAR, you will be really surprised that there were a lot of attributes. On top, like you will see very few attributes, but if you go further in detail, you have a lot. In this date time itself, you have seen a very plethora of things. And similarly, the time delta, time zone information. Till now, did we work about the different time zones? We just know what is our time zone, what is the time at a particular time zone. But did we do a date time zone conversions or anything else? No. So that all I will do right now. So if you see what is the max and minimum that it can support. If you see they have done like the maximum error is 9999. If you remember there is a standard Y2K problem in 2000s because at that time the max year they process is like 99. So not Python but like every other language did the same thing because everyone didn't think that after so at the time so 95, 96, 99 after 1999 2000 year will come. But what missions understood after 99 again zero came. So because the maximum year they processed is only 99. So that's the reason to avoid that problem. So nowadays every language is supporting like this. Max year they support is this much. Now till then, so we don't know like what will happen after that. But what is the minimum and maximum durations and others? This concept is called as a resolution. Means what is the minimum change that you can track? So if you see the date and time, what is the minimum? So date. What is the maximum date? So till that year we can calculate everything. What is the minimum granular difference? So within a change of microsecond it can capture. So and if you see the date also the resolution, minimum 1 day difference I can calculate. So that's what is needed. In terms of time also, minimum microseconds. That's what we know. And similarly, for this, if you ask, hey, what is the time zone? So this is very important. Time zone information. We will see about it afterwards. But this is a method. If you call, it will still say that I'm a time zone object, but it will not give much information. We will go to it afterwards after some time. But we need to understand, till now we are working with a time module for getting time. Now we have a date time. By the name itself, it is saying it will give both the date and time together. Means this date time will have three types of objects: date object, time object, and datetime object, all of them. So if I say datetime.datetime.now, so seems like it is a bit crazy. So some people will do like this, but some people think like, I'd say big module instead of doing datetime.datetime.now. So because like here we imported, so date time, we did a import date time, we did like this. But in real time, so people think like it is a big option. So they will do the things in other way. Means like if you import from date time, import date time, like that they do, selective import. In that case, we can do like a date time dot now. So don't get confused if someone is writing in a single short form, but actual form is the other one. Just to tell you, be aware how practically people use it. So datetime.datetime.now should be done. If I do like datetime.datetime.now, in the current time, what is that? In my local time zone. For my local time zone, it is giving like whatever is the time. So and then if I say like now.date, so what is the current date? So from that only the date time. So it is a date time object. From that, if you want only the date part or like time part, you can exclusively ask for that information. And if you individually get the date time and time part, you can combine them using datetime.datetime.combine to get them together. At the same time, if you get like, there is something called as time delta. If you want, sometimes you want to create date, yesterday's date, or like date 10 days back, date 5 days back, or like, after, 3 months back or 4 months, all of them we can use using time delta. Even future date also we can create. First, it will create the date time object. That if you subtract, it will create a previous. If you add, it will create a future date. That's the difference. If you want yesterday, you can subtract by 1 day, right? If you want, so if you have yesterday's date and today's date, you can get a difference date also. In the same fashion, you can create date time or objects on your own by passing the individual year, month, date, or like you can exclusively send with these values. If you write like this, so even if the order changes also, it can understand. And if you similarly if you want to create the time, so it will not create like a current time. Observe the difference. Datetime.datetime.now will give you the current time, whereas datetime.time will tell you that so the default time is 00. Similarly, time of 00 will tell you like what is the time. And similarly, time of hours and minutes will tell you like how much hours and minutes. And similarly, if I give like a hours, minutes, means so year, month, date, it will create like that. So you can create individually date, time, or date time together. It's all up to us. If I want to, I given all the options, it will create like that also. In the same fashion, if you have an existing time, let's say this is my time. In this time, I want to replace the year. It's not a string, right? String dot replace. So it's like a object. So for that object, if you say, hey, replace the year is 2019 and the month is instead of 6, replace it with 1. Now if you see what will happen, instead of 1984, it became 2019, and instead of 6th month, it became like 1st month, and remaining details are same as it is. So sometimes you will get a problem that, some typewriter or some clerk did a mistake. Instead of one date, they gave like another date. Now calculate the difference between others. So that kind of problems you will get. So then you just need to do like this. And similarly, you know the concept of epoch time, right? Epoch time means from 1st of January 1970, how many seconds were passed? That is the concept of timestamp. So if I say like UTC from timestamp 0 means from that time how much seconds were done. Means like if you use 0, it will say epoch time only. Epoch time is 1970 January 1st 000. If you do the difference between them, so from epoch time till now means 1970 January 1st onwards, these many days, these many hours were done. So similarly, if you want to get exclusively how many days were done, it will give exclusively how many days. And if you want a total, so how many seconds were passed, it will give that seconds. And if you say like, total seconds, the entire time it will convert to seconds and how much time it passed. And if I pass this actually seconds, which we got into the next one, instead of taking this, you see now, again, you will get your time, right? Again, the same concept. You pass that and you get yours. In the same fashion, if you use some other time, you get it. Same way how you generated from a numbers is a timestamp, you created a things, right? Like that. But there is a difference. Datetime.datetime, by default it is printing. It will not print a time structure. So when it is printing, it will print in this format. So means you need not even convert to a particular format of your choice. By default, when it is printing also, it's easy and human beings can understand. And if you want your own formats also, you can specify. So let's say if you're taking like datetime.datetime.now, which is the local time. Similarly, for UTC now also we can ask. In UTC, what is the time right now? So in this case, like both are same for me. But like from those individually you can ask, hey, what is this local time? What is the year, month, all that information. And also in the previous, I forgot to mention about this website. This is a very good website where you can see the entire thing.
No, no.
It is STRF time. Means we have one time that if you want to convert to in a particular format, means you want to convert to a string from the object. When you want to convert to a string, you want to convert to a month, date, the hours, like that. For everything, they have mentioned like this. Percentile y means year. Small y means 2-digit year. So if you give like a, so weekday, so like all of them for everything, month is like month as a numeric number. So like similarly, if you want like hours as a 24 hours format or like a 12 hours format, if you want like AM and PM, so all that information and the time zone information if you want. So all that information you can pass. For everything there is a way. So if you use that, you can use it. So using that, we can see here, I have a time from that I want to convert. If you observe, I have given a string. In that string, apart from like percentile y, you see there is some kind of slash also, or means it in this entire string, it will try to process only the percentile strings. So the remaining things will come as it is. See, whenever you have slashes, the slashes came as it is. And if there is a hyphen, that also came as it is. And after that, you have some columns. Columns also came as it is. In the same fashion, for the same thing, if you ask percentile small y. Now, did you see the same year you got in 2 digits? Means last 2 digits. Similarly, if I do like percentile y, small y, and capital B, means the month you got like in a capitals. So similarly, if I do like percentile B, so the month as it is you got and a date. And after that, earlier there is a small space. Now I get more space. Means whatever you give string, the string will come as it is. Only the percentile things will be replaced. If you see in this case, I am doing a percentile Z. Observe carefully. So you got like AM PM means like for the 2 PM you got. But did you see, though you asked like percentile Z, you didn't get the time zone information. What could be the reason, sir? I will tell you afterwards. Means whenever you create a datetime object, it will not have the time zone information. That time zone information we need to add. As the time zone is not there, it is not showing. How to add that, I will tell you afterwards. But before going further, did you see now I have another string which has like some sentence also. Today is something. Whatever you have as it is, it will come. Wherever the percentiles are there, they will replace with the actual values. Sir, what if I have a percentile which is not defined in these things? Then it will throw an error. You can give it a try. Or say, what, sir, what if I want certain thing like a percentile to come? Then instead of one percentile, you give two percentiles. Assume that in somehow you want percentile y to come as it is. Then you give it two percentiles, then it will ignore it. So that is one option. That is what? You have a datetime object, you are converting to a string. Now this is the another part. Assume that this is the most common thing that anyone will face. You have a CSV file. As a data engineer, you need to parse that and you need to understand what is the date time and you do some operations. If you have a string and if you want to convert to a datetime object, whenever you are given a string, datetime string, so you need to give the format exactly in that form such that it will understand and create a datetime object. So I have here like 2019 something. Now like that I need to create this format. Let me create with your things. So whenever I have, the first one should be the datetime and the second one should be the format. So first I will copy this for us to understand. So I will write generally like this. 4-digit year I want means percentile capital Y. So again hyphen should be coming as it is. And so month if I want like a numbers percentile M. And if I want a date also like a numbers percentile D. And if I want hours, it is like 16, right? Means not times, so it's not AM PM. So then like percentile H. And similarly minutes means percentile capital M. And seconds means percentile capital S. This is where everyone gets confused. Percentile capital S is for seconds, percentile small s is for string representation. Don't get confused within these two. If I pass right now it understood entire object and give it. And one more problem most people face as a beginner is whenever there will ambiguous, if you give like in this particular format, in the place of month if you give date, in the place of date month also it will work. So that's why we should understand where you need to give what. You need to understand the entire data first before giving this. And similarly, if here I have 8th April 1945. So 8 space April means entire word came, percentile capital B. So then like you have this one, the capital Y. So like that you need to specify the entire datetime object. Similarly, if you want to calculate time deltas, I told time delta we can give like days, months, minutes, hours like that. You can generate a future time or a past time using that. So for the local time, if you add that, you get a future time. So if I say like future time by 20, means 20 days after now. So already we are in the last 10 days of May, right? 20 days means what? In June, so like 9th. So that's what it gives. Similarly, like that you can do all time related operations. And the last very, very interesting point is the time zone information. So this is not a built-in module, but if you install any module like Flask or Django or anything, so everyone has a dependency of this. And if you install it, this is the process in which you install a module. So pip install hyphen hyphen user. And if I install, it is saying that it is already installed. Good. So if you open it, so it is a time zone information. And if you want to see the list of attributes, here also we can say DAR of, PyTZ. If you see, it also has a lot of attributes. So time errors and all these things. And if you there are like common time zones, common countries, country names, country time zones. So apart from that, did you see the OS module, sys module, time zone module? So these are also there. I told you. So why a module can get a combination of other modules? Because they are using those modules there. So what is the use of this PyTest? Simply to say, if you have timezone.timezone.utc now, currently in UTC, what is the current time? It will give that information. But from that, if you ask dot time zone information, did you get like any time zone information? Though you are telling that UTC time or current time, local time, whatever time you give, but it is giving the time, but it is not giving the time zone information. This is what you need to understand. Whenever you generate a time, it will not have a time zone information. If you want time zone information added to it, we need to explicitly give that. So how to create that? This is a process. I know that this time is a UTC time. Now for this, I need to add the UTC date time zone. So I gave the UTC time zone. So after defining this time zone, I'm saying that UTC dot localize of this native time. Means, hey, localize this time to that. Means whatever this date time you gave, it is like UTC. As you created, you add that to it. So like that, you created a new time. Now, did you see from that, if you ask, hey, what is time zone information? Did you see it is giving? And also observe the difference. Earlier, when we are printing, it is giving like year, month, date, hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. But did you see it is doing a plus 00.00? Means like I'm at the UTC. If it is like in India, so 5:30 plus 5:30. So like for every time zone, it has its own. Similarly, if I'm going for Paris/Europe, in Paris/Europe, what is this thing? Already you localized it to our local time. So this UTC time we have. See, I'm not taking the original naive data time. I'm taking a UTC time that I am normalizing to Paris time. If I normalize, did you see? It is not like every time adding only the time zone. So don't you see that the time was converted? So earlier it was like what? 252. It was converted to 452 because there were 2 hours difference. Similarly, if I have like an American time, now this UTC time I'm converting to that American time. Now on the same day we have like 10:52 in the morning. So that is a New York time right now. So if you see the LA time, if you see here, so the same time zone it is converting. How it is all happening? I am passing a time aware object. So step one, you take a local time or whatever the time zone. So for the time zone, you add a localizing time zone. So then you create that UTC now. That this time zone aware object I'm passing to all of these time zones. So that's how it is creating for different things. So like that, how many time zones are there? If you see in the world, there were like too many time zones. So and countries which are like vertical enough in geography, they have like a single time zone mostly. So countries which are like a horizontal on a globe, if you see, they have like multiple time zones. Countries like Russia has like 12 time zone. Countries like America has like 4 time zones. So there are different variations. So each time zone you can see. So if it is India, Asia/Kolkata, if you ask what is the time, so I'm taking the UTC. For this UTC time, what is the time in India? It was like 8:22. So if you see, want to see totally 596 time zones are there. In that, most common are like 433. So this is all like different options. Just I gave some other examples, like for different time zones, how the things are happening. So how we are converting. So there are two things, STRF and STRP. Don't get confused between these two. So one is for like converting from object to string and other one from string to object. So that's a difference. So like this, different things are there. So I don't want to take too much time. Yeah. Similarly, where I want to focus, yeah, we can do like a offsets also. Means like from this time we can do an offset and see. So all of that are simple examples you can walk through. But one good example I want to bring. If let's say you want to know what is the current day. So this is one example where it is showing. So datetime.now will give. So you see here, this time I did a selective import. From datetime, I did a date. I want to play only with date. So in date object, there is something called as a week. Date dot weekday of today. So it will, if you ask what is the week of today individually, it will give like a 0, 1, 2, 3 like that. So 0 through 6. So if you have a list of all the days, you can index the position and you can get it. So this is like one example. So instead of you struggling that much, okay, it is saying like date time has nothing. So we should say like date time dot now. So I told right selective import only for this one we did, for others we didn't do. So that's how it works. Or like here also we can do like a date time dot date also we can do date time dot date dot so and so, so that we need not do even this selective import also if so needed. Similarly, so the same thing, if you want here also we can write the same thing. So what I want to bring to your notice is that there are some operations which can do very much well here in this also. But if you want to know the date of a particular day, so you need to do this much hustle to get it. So if you do like a datetime dot date of weekday of a given a date object, it will give like 0 through 9, and you need to pass through the dates to understand what is the date. So for that, like I create like one function so that you can understand. Date time dot date dot strp. Yes, now it works. Yes, see here for different dates I gave. What is the day it gave? So it took like this much time for helping us. But in fact, there were better options to get us doing it much fasterly. So that is where like I am going. So date time you use a lot in different use cases. So but like there is one edge case where this calendar module can be very helpful. What is this calendar module? In which case it will be helpful? Let's see that. So calendar, by the name itself, it is saying that it will deal with the calendar things. So certain things will be repetitive, but it is mostly important because we work with the calendar related things. So typically, if you have in your home, if there is a calendar, what you will see the calendar for? On a particular day, what is the week? Or like in a particular week, how many, on a particular month, how many weeks are there? Or how many weekends are there? So all of that you want to see. Or you want to see the calendar. So all such operations we can do. And this is also a built-in module. If you see the DAR and others, you see the documentation. So it also have a lot of things like epoch time. So what is epoch time? Monday, Tuesday, so and so. So by default, I told right, the default date is 0 for Monday. Monday onwards till Sunday it will go. So months also, if you see, hope you remember, for January, February, March, April, all these things it will work in this way. If you ignore the 0, Jan will have like 31 days, next Feb 28 days, next like March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So this is the total number of days, right, per in each month. So that like that they pre-calculated certain things and they stored it. So now based upon that, if you ask, what is the week header? If you ask, week header of 2 means, so week are like Monday to Sunday only, but they will give 2 digits. So similarly, if you give like 1 digit, 2 digits, 3 digits, 4 digits, like that it will give. Means if you give 6 also, it doesn't mean that it will give 6 digits, 6 characters, but it will give like this. I mean, why it is more important means we can do a lot of operations. Hope you remember earlier also we solved this problem. If you are given a date and if you want to know like what is the week of the day, by default, if I don't give anything, I need to take that information. So you see here, if I give any date, it will take that. So if I execute it and if I ask, initially it is asking, see here, it is asking the format like month, date and year. Maybe like I will say 20, so fifth month. So date is like 22 and like 1974 if I give an enter. So 5th month, 22nd, 1974 is Wednesday. How we got? Using the traditional way. Whatever the dates were given, we are splitting into 3 parts, and then individually you are passing to it. Calendar dot weekday, if you pass these 3 values individually, it will give the weekday. So you need not worry about like converting to time zone and getting from that like that. So things are much more easy here. If you give like another date, or like it will give. Similarly, if you want to know the calendar of a particular month of a year, you give that year and a month, it will give that. But if you do like this, you cannot understand. So if you print, you can understand that. So in 1947, so August on 15th, so it was a Friday. So that's how you got it. And similarly, if you pass like a 2028 month, so then where the August is? So again, the 15th is like a Saturday. So like that would happen. And similarly, if you want to know the month range, so in that month, how many so days are there? How many weeks are there? Some weeks, like there will be more weeks, right? If you observe carefully here, how many weeks are there in this month? So apart from this 1, 2, 3, 4, you have like 1 week here and 1 week here. So totally like you can count those many things, right? So that's the reason in 2020, third month, if you ask, it will say that there were 6 weeks and totally 31 days only. It is span for like 6 weeks. So that's what you're telling. And similarly, if for any month you can ask what are the total dates and so and so. If something is before it, it will replace like a zero, like a calendar in a list of numbers. And similarly, like a HTML calendars also, if you give like the entire, so here all informations are there. If you pass the date, time, and so and so, on 1947, if you want the calendar, the entire calendar you got. So these things you can use whenever you're displaying something in a web application or something. And if you want to know the first weekday, first weekend, so means sometimes if you want to execute certain jobs, so it will be useful. And similarly, these calendars also have different formats, text of calendar and all these things. And also for these calendars, I can give you different options. So here in this case, I am doing 1047. So means 1047. In that year, what is there? Now I am giving a small option to you. So in August, so 1947, August 15th, you got a Friday for August 15th, right? Like that, from the so first century onwards, give me like how many years we got the same 15th on that particular month as a Friday. So check like that. You can get for all options, right? You can check like that. And similarly, not only this, you can print different kinds of things. Means when you're printing calendars, if you observe carefully, all the calendars, American calendars generally start with Sunday. So whereas like so if you go for a Gulf countries, Arabic calendars start from Friday onwards. Means it doesn't mean that their first is a different date or second is a different date. Everyone has first is same. If you see in August, so first is like Friday, right? August 47. Here also first is like Friday only, but the way they are arranged is different. Here it is arranging from Sunday onwards, right? Whereas here it is arranging from Friday onwards. That's a slight difference. And similarly, so if you want to localize, so we can use this information. So if you are in a Windows, you need to place a hyphen. If you are in a Linux, you place an underscore. So if you use this localized information, it can do for us. Localize it in. If you want in English, EN English. If you want like different languages, you can specify all those languages. Vietnamese, so Taiwan, so Swahili. If I'm not wrong, it is Swahili. Swahili is a you know top northern part of Africa. So Swahili is one region, middle of Africa. So they follow this. And there are sometimes the VS code also can't display us properly, right? So that's a point. So like that, not only that, we can check if something is a leap year or not. So is a leap year, or like between these 2 years, so how many leap days are there? How many leap days will be there? If there is a leap year, there will be 1 year. For every 4 years only, we'll get a leap year, right? So how many leap years are there? If you ask, it will give this money. means between 2000 and 2030, these many leap years are there. So next year is a leap year, so we'll get one extra day. Similarly, so when you're iterating, so we can iterate over the months. If you give the information, it will give all the dates within that. In fact, using these features in my real time, I created a path cycle. Means like, so for every system, we need to do updates. For Windows system, we need to do monthly updates. For Linux, we need to do quarterly updates. And these updates for every application, I need to do in a sequence. So what I did, I took all this information in an iterative fashion. I got all the things and I created a calendar for all the servers when to refresh. So that is my use case. So similarly, you will have your own use case for the calendar modules and others. There are multiple other options. You can just walk through it. You will understand for more of it. So here to it. So any major things I'm thinking of? Yeah, HTML calendars. This is primarily used whenever you are working with a web application where you want to transpose everything to the web app. In the web application, you can see the entire calendar. So whenever you want to show that calendar in a web application, this HTML calendar will be helpful. So in this web application HTML calendar also we can localize. So it is giving like HTML, right? HTML by default you cannot see, but you need to come to something. If I do like a HTML editor, so you can go for some HTML editor and then you can open that. Say online free HTML editors, something you go, they give to you. And if you paste your code, and then if you say like edit source code and switch, I think like it's not showing you format and ready. Okay, real time collaborative editor. I think it's not a good idea. Okay, it's not showing the output, right? So leave it. Oh, there is something it is showing. See here, I wrote it. View HTML source code. I think it's a very bad idea. Okay, let me take this one. W3 schools is the most popular. Yeah. If I try it yourself, if I paste it and if I run, you see now it's a calendar, right? It generated an entire table. If you know a bit of HTML, it is called as a tabulation. So TR tags and TD tags. So that's what you're seeing. So this is how it works. So these are all the different help modules for this time. So which we have seen till now. After this time information, so I can save everything. Okay, cancel. So I think like I don't want it. Close all. Fine. We have seen all these times. Now, finally, I will see something called as creating our own user-defined modules. So till now we have worked on different modules. In fact, if you want to work further also, there were a lot of modules. So it's a time will go on. But if you want to now stress on creating your own user-defined modules, that's what more important. So if I say like user-defined modules, generally I am writing this 0102 for everything folder because like I am helping in the tutorial. So in a sequence you can see, but it's not a good practice to start any file with a number. So it's not a good idea. So did you see that in the user defined modules I am not doing, because I know that this is the last thing in this particular folder. So within that I want to work. Say first I want to create anything. You need to be aware of one good concept. First, you there are two ways any file can be executed. I told, if you write one file, say like one module, if I wrote, so the module I can write directly, something like I wrote a module one. So here, if I write something like import, so imports is this I am doing, and like print hello world. So this is a simple code I have. Now how do I execute this code? There are two ways we can execute. Either you go to the terminal, navigate to this directory where you are, copy the path, navigate to that directory. So clear the screen. And now Python. So this file name. If you execute, it is doing a hello world. And similarly, what is the other way of doing? We can go to the terminal. So Python, if I tell, I go to the interactive mode, I ask like OS import OS dot list current listed here. It's in the current directory, the file is there. And we can also import any module directly like this also, right? We should not write a .py, but the file name. So the moment you wrote, it will execute like that also. And that's the reason we have something called as PyCache. I told this concept also at that time. Means if you have any logic, we can directly or indirectly execute. And the way you are executing also, I told you. So now what is this the only way of usage? No. So there is other alternative way also. If I clear the screen, I can create one more folder like a module usage. Say module one, say usage.py. I can create another file in this current directory and I can ask in this current directory, I can say like import module one and I can execute it. So Python, so instead of module one, I can use like module one usage. So this is what you understood. Anything we can execute directly or indirectly. So till now for a single file, you understood this concept. Now, similarly, if you want to create a package, this is what the most important question everyone asks. What is the difference between a package and a module? Module means individual Python script, whereas a package means a group of Python scripts. Means, let me delete this PyCache file. So it's like unnecessary. So now you have a folder. In this folder, I passed this, so your module. Similarly, I created another one like module2.py. Similarly, I create one more thing called as module 3. So module3.py. So if you see that tree right now did you see? So outside you have module usage and within the package you have 3 modules. So now if you want to import the entire thing like a single package, so that is the concept of a package. Means you created one package right now. So maybe like instead of just writing like this, so package I wrote. Now if I want to import, so I will come to the usage. In terms of the usage, I will ask, hey, give me the package. So instead of module 1, I am saying like import. If I want to import all of them together, then I need to import like a package I'm doing. So if I say Python, say module 1 usage. Now did you see? Oh, I'm saying like Python space so and so. To make the things easy and for us to better understand, let me create one more package. So this package, if you want to individually, any file, if you want to install, so pull, you can do like this. So add this, files, if you want to pull, they were in a different directory. So what you can do, package dot module one. So that is how we can use, right? If I say the usage, so this is how it works. Okay. So if I say, so Python usage, did you see it is working? Or like I will write in each module how it works. Maybe like I will write define. So module one, say like define hello world. So print of, so hello module one. And in the same fashion, the same thing I will do in the second module. In the second module, instead of a sys module, I will use OS module. I don't want to use it, but still I will write. But I will say hello world 2. And in the same fashion, I will come to the module 3. In that, like, I don't want to import anything, but I want to write some constant saying that, dozen is equal to 12. I wrote something, and here I am writing like module 3. So I have individual functions. Now, you know one thing, if you are writing any module, means any Python code, so we need to write this extra condition. If name is equal to underscore underscore main, so then we want to execute that locally. So because if you don't do like this, what will happen? Whenever you are importing it, automatically it will get executed. To avoid this problem, so in every Python code, we need to write so first definitions followed by executions like this. So first definition followed by usage in this line. So if we have the usage of like this, I can take and place here. So this is how every time we need to have. Now, if I see together all of that, if I say like executing in terms of usage, so what I told, if you are doing like module.package1, because they were part of one of the folder, from that if you want to use, this is the way. So maybe like I will do like, so mod1 or like m1 I'll do. And similarly, if you want to do, this is something called as alias, because every time you don't want to refer like that. So similarly, this is called as a alias. So maybe the third one, I don't want to do an alias, directly I want to use. So now if I say Python usage.py, now did you see earlier in the modules, I wrote like a direct print statement, but now I wrote like a functions. But if I go inside the directory, so if I go inside that directory, say package, and then ask like, individually module one, if I ask, so the module one execution will happen. But outside it will not execute like that, because we wrote this condition. This condition will be true only when the code is directly executed. When indirectly executed, it will not happen. But in terms of usage, you can do like this. Now, if you want to use explicitly, you can write. You can tell that, fmt, so f, you can write all of that, and you can place. So m1 dot hello world. So same thing is there in everyone. So if you want to execute, I think like there is no return statement, right? I need to have print also. m1 dot hello world. In the same fashion, m2 dot hello world. In the third option, so what I did a direct import. So I can I do like, module 3 dot hello world. Hello world, can I use like that? So the first one is an alias. So maybe second one, I will do like a selective import. Then you will better understand the different options. So from package, I want to import module 2. Maybe like I want to do like this. So first one is like a alias import. Second one is like a selective import. Third one is like, so sub package import. Means package can have like multiple things, and you import it like this. So when you are using, you should use in this way only directly. So in this case, you imported like module 2. So you can use module 2 like that. So you see here, when you did a alias, you can do alias import. And when you do a selective import, you can do the selective thing. But when you do like that, so we should do like module dot hello world like this. So if I execute these three things, so Python usage, if you see, I got executed. So this is how you create some modules and make a usage. But so we need to import all of them individually, right? That is a problem. So can we have a better strategy, sir, for these things? So for that, let me create another package. So for that, let me create another thing like package 2. Say package 2, I create. I will place the same packages into it, same like these files. I take the same files to it and work on it. But this time I want to do a better usage. So for that, maybe this time I will, instead of writing a package, I will do in a better way. So what I will do, I will take these files individually. So earlier we got one problem. The problem is what? If you see that entire tree, you will understand now. So if I clear that package file, you ignore it. In package also you have the same files. Package 2 also you have the same files. But one problem what you have seen in the package 1 is that you have seen individual files and you have used. So if I say like package usage or like usage package. Similarly, for package 2 also we need to write usage. Say usage package 2 dot py, just to show you. So in this case, what I will do, I want to import all of them in one shot. So for that, can I import directly this package 2? So that is what my intention. Because earlier we couldn't do. Now also I will try. So Python. So you see, if the tree, I'm the, what is the current working directory? If you see the tree, if you see, I am in the current working directory. I'm asking the usage. So Python usage package2.py. So it is saying like typo. If you see now, it is executing. So, but did you see that package 2 is imported? And I assume that, package 2 has these folders I want to use directly. Maybe like, package 2 dot module 1 I want to use. So if I use it, what will happen? It will throw an error that package 2 don't have anything. Means when you have a folder and in that folder there are some files, if you want to import them in one shot, there is one thing you need to write called as underscore underscore init underscore underscore dot py. Observe, this is a magic. Trust me, this is really a magic because I'm not writing anything in it. Just I wrote this file. So if you see the tree again, you will understand. In the tree, if you can observe carefully, so if I remove this nuisance, so this PyCache files. So if you see, so if I clear the screen and write the tree again, did you see? In the package also we have 3 files. In package 2 also we have 3 files. But in addition, did you see there is an init file? And within that init file, I didn't write anything. Now, but in the usage file, if I ask, hey, Python usage package 2, did you see that it imported something somehow? Did you see that PyCache file created for the init? So the package 2 was imported. Now for this package 2, I am asking, hey, print dir of these things. Observe carefully. It is still saying that I don't have an attribute. But fine, better than the previous one. At least it executed. So the moment you write an empty init file, it will execute. And if I ask again the dir, did you see the list of attributes? Every file will have some metadata. That information you will get. What is the name? What is the package name? And all this information. So let me see like what is this information. If I see like, hey, what is the underscore underscore file name? So what is the underscore underscore package name? Package name. So if I say like, file, so file, ask like what is the package and what is the name. If I ask what is the name and so like that. And built-ins means like the entire built-in modules and everything, it will come there. And if I ask now, did you see when I ask a name is equal to main? This concept like underscore underscore name is equal to underscore underscore main. This will happen only when you execute directly. And this is belong to it. If I ask the file how you are executing, that it will tell. And if you're asking packages, it don't have a packages, that's what it is giving as it is. But how do you have the attributes? In this particular thing, there were modules, right? Then how do you get? In the init file, I need to import them. So if I say like, import, so, in the init file, it is in the same directory. I can import module 1. So import module 2. And if I say like import module 3, and whatever the way imports we did in the earlier, you remember? Thus, first, if I will do directly these three imports, what in the init file I added this. The moment I added it, the entire structure changes. You observe now, if I ask it in the usage, it is still telling that no, there is no module called as module 1. Means in the init file, it is saying that it couldn't find a module 1. Because where it is saying in the init file, it is saying there is an issue, no module. It is in the directory only. In the directory only you have a module, but still it couldn't do. Means everything is in the init only, means nearby only, but still you couldn't import. What could be the reason? So because it's in the same directory. So generally, so how this structure works is, in the init we will specify what all modules we want. Means in this folder, so whatever you have, you need to import like this. So from package to import, so module 1, so module 2, say module 2, and like module 3. Now if you see now, observe carefully, did you see the story was entirely changed now? So within this init file, this is the magic file. In a package, if you have a set of files and if you want to import them all together, this is what you need to do. So ignore these PyCache files. In the init file, I did it. So we cannot import directly, but if you do like this import, so relatively in this folder, there is a module, import it. Even if you want to directly import also, we can do, but like how we need to do? Import, so package 2.module 3, like that we need to import, or like selective imports. Either way we can do, but this is how we need to import. And the moment you import, did you see what are the modules you imported are coming like this? And if I execute it again, see here, if see, if you can observe, so I did like package 2.module 3, and here also package 2.module 3. So even package 2 also can package like that. So there are different ways of importing. So but you cannot import directly. Indirectly you can import. Now you understood like different ways of importing the things. Now the last leg in these things, let me create my own module. So now let me create a third module, so for us to better understand. And before even further going, so let me take one more example just to show you a bit. In this module, say I will do some kind of operations. So operations, um, um, some like operations is my module. So it means my package. You can think like that. So in the operations I am doing, what all operations I wanna do? Maybe like uh, write something. Um, Maybe like package 3 I will write. Better you will remember. Package 3. So whenever you create a package, the first rule is create a underscore underscore init underscore underscore dot py file. This is the first rule. So then you write all your operations. Let me write a new file called as calculations. Maybe like calculator.py I am writing. In this calculator.py, first I need to have some functions, names and other things. I will write like in a structure. Observe carefully. Till now we have functions, we have names like that. So let me write a dozen is equal to 12, and I'm writing defining some function addition. So maybe like I will have some result also to it. So fine. And similarly, I will have some multiplication, division. So like that. So and maybe like I will add all the features it needed. A typical folder how structure of a program will be like this. I will tell. For every program, shebang line, whether you want to write, you can write. It's optional. If you don't write also, it's fine. So after, like you need to have a doc strings. So at the program level, we need to have a doc strings. And I told how to create a doc string also. I told if you want to create your own doc string, pydoc is there. So what are the file you have? You need to pass. And I have some constants I'm defining first, then the functions. And for the function level also, you can define the doc strings. This is how you say what is the function doing. what are the parameters it is taking, what will be the return value. This is a typical .rst file format structure. And if you don't write also fine, so it will take the inputs as it is. If you don't write also, that's fine, but it's a best practice to have. And also I told you, right, we write the condition, and within that condition only we do the executions, because indirectly also when you can execute, right? So fine, this is how we write a typical file. Now if you want to write like one more file, so say like I want to like one more file, like a operation. In the package I have another file called as operations. In that operations also I want to do something. So here also shebang line is not mandatory, so but like you can write, and you can write the doc strings, and you have written two functions, factorial and Fibonacci. So you're making a call. So like that you created some structure, right? So now in terms of usage, how do you use it? So how to use this particular function that I want to tell. I have a structure containing these two files together. Now I will create a usage package3.py. So in the package3, how I am using? So importing and using a remote file. So I want to now import these files. So Python usage package3.py. There is nothing defined, it will work. Now if I want to use it together, its name is package3. Can I do like import package3? So, and if I ask like a print dir of package3, now if you see here how it works, it is telling like what is the file name, I mean this file name, all those things, but it don't have any attributes. I told how we will get the attributes. Though in the package you have some files, you need to import them here within your init file. In the init file, if you are not importing, you cannot get it. So in the init file, first we need to import them. So what are the package name is? My package name is like package3. In that there were like both calculator and thing. No, I'm importing both the functions. Then both functions will be imported such that I can use it. So in my init file, I defined it. Now, if you closely observe that tree, you will observe. So this is the actual tree of the file. So most of the time, this nuisance will be there. I will remove that init. So PyCache files. Yeah, if I clear the screen and if I ask the tree, did you observe? Package 1 you have seen. Package 2 main advantage is init file. Package 3 also, these two files are there. There is an init file. In the redeemed file, I imported. Now, obviously, in the usage, which is outside, I can just take this module and use it. So if I say like, hey, give me, what is the usage? It will say that, hey, did you see now that these two files are also imported? So PYC files are created. Now it will have these attributes together. So whenever now we are using, we will have this package. Due to this, one interesting thing that we will see is at the package level also we will have a doc string docs. If I ask, hey, what is the documentation of this package? Did you observe that you got this is the init file from package file? How you got? Because in the package 3, you have this one. So package 3 init file. So whatever you wrote here, I'm getting it. If I clear and if I rerun again also, you can see. So till now, when you're doing OS module or any module, how you are getting documentation? Because of this. So not only this, so how do you get the help? The same thing works. If you go, I will see more of the documentation. So you have seen the usage. You were asking at the package level. In the package level, what are the attributes are there? If you see calculator and operations. At that level also you can ask, right? So I can ask dot calculator dot documentation. Similarly, so dot operations dot documentation. If you ask clear and so and so. Did you observe? When you asked calculator.documentation, did you see that in the calculator script.py file, which documentation you got? You got documentation which is written at the script level. Did you see? And similarly, for the operations, when you asked what are is at the script level documentation, you got it. And the documentation, not only this, at the individual file levels also you can ask. Means in the calculator you have addition. For this addition operation also you can ask. Means if I give some gap, I can ask it. Means like print of package3 dot calculator dot addition dot underscore doc. So why you are crazy about this documentation, sir? So because these documentations will further help me whenever I am doing the help. So let me see now how to get the help. So either here anywhere we can do for help, right? If I say like help the package. Now if you see, if I am asking, did you see now? I got the entire help. So the entire help you see package 3 in it, whatever you wrote, and within that what are the files are there and where the file is located. So don't you see you got it? Or like, so whenever your work is done, you can say Q, you can stop. In the same fashion, not only this package, within this package, say like within the package 3, dot calculator is there. For calculator, you wrote a lot of good logic. Now, if you ask, hey, give me the help, did you observe carefully? The entire file help came. So don't you think the help is same like what you did for ordinary built-in modules? So in you see here the entire documentation. First, it is giving the help. What is the name of the package it gives? So if you are in the init file, you have directly imported. So that's what it is telling, say. And like what are the functions it has? You wrote like different functions, right? It will give all the functions. And for a particular function, if you have documentation, doc strings, it will give that. And did you see, though you defined addition after the subtraction, but you got subtraction in the last, because these functions are displayed in an alphabetical order. After the functions, the variables will define. Did you see, we defined that variable in the top, but when it is defining, it will give in this process only. And it is telling what is the file name. So like that, the entire code it will display. So this is what you need to understand about how a package works. And if you want to work further on these packages, you can make the usage. So maybe like, I can tell in terms of say like, package 3. So package 3 dot calculator dot doesn't. I can ask individually, or in that dot calculator, in that I can ask dot factorial. So these operations, if I do, it will execute all of them and give you as the values. So this is all about the usage of any packages. And also I told you how to create the doc strings. So documentation using pydoc. I gave a beautiful explanation earlier also. Similarly here also I am telling again. If you want to create the documentation at a script level or at the overall documentation level also you can create. So the concept is using pydoc only. So if I am in a directory in this particular package 3, if I go and now if I say the ls, the list of files I have calculator. Now if I ask like python-m pydoc -w, this is more important. Means it will create a new file or else it will just show us that's it in the command line. If you do a calculator, you should not write .py. Then it will execute that script first and it will create a documentation. HTMLs you cannot see directly. In the extensions, you can add like a HTML viewer edition or like directly you in so HTML viewer or something. Some HTML viewer, some extension is there. You can add that live server or something. Yeah, I think this only. So you should take and work on it. You can see that. Or like if it is local, you can save and open in a Chrome or something else. You can see. So that is how it created, right? And similarly, the HTML file is created. In the same fashion, if you want to create the same documentation for the operations file, that is another file, right? Py file. For that also remove the .py and do it. So it will create. Even operations also have some doc strings. Based upon that, it will create. But if you want to create the documentation for the entire package, then you need to go one level above. Then you can say like same logic, Python -m pydoc package 3. So at the package level, you are creating the documentation. So means like, so here also, if I do like a Python -w, then it will create the documentation. Did you see? This is called as package level documentation. So if you have like a live Python server, so then it can see it. So I think like live server, it is there, but still I couldn't see. Maybe like I will research like how to open a HTML file inside. But if you do locally, you can just open with a HTML. That's the easiest way. This is how I create a package and then get the documentation and how I pass to each of them. And there is a last point I want to tell with the packages. So now let me take a small package. So this is one of the interview questions. So that's why I'm making called as package 4. So here also I'm creating one package. Here my intention is I want to take the same concept like module 1, module 2, module 3 like that. Say module 1 py. Similarly module 2.py and module 3.py. It doesn't mean like only we should have 3 modules. Just for you to better understand, I'm doing. So assume that I have some classes. And I am writing something called as underscore underscore all. This is most important. Means, so you can have different functions or classes at each module level, but you can decide what to expose and what not to expose. Means when you're taking like a package, if you want certain thing to be private, they should not be exposed. You can decide that. If you see in the previous module, I have these many classes, but did you see that the D was not exposed? Only A, B, C were exposed. So in the package, only A, B, C will come. Similarly, E, F were exposed, whereas G is not there in the all. So that will not be exposed. In the same fashion, in the third package, I am writing directly one class. I am not exposing, not hiding. I didn't write the all parameter. So then like how it works. And whenever you're writing, so the first and foremost thing for any package is that rule number 1, underscore underscore init underscore underscore dot py file. So in this init file, we need to write what modules to expose. This is most important point. So in the init file is the base source. In that till now we are just importing, but we didn't write anything. But if I write like all is equal to module 1 and module 2, the content in module 3 will not be taken into consideration. Only these will be part of it. So when you are making a usage also, the same logic will execute. So if I take like the package usage, select package usage underscore package 4 dot py. So for the package 4, like how the usage is happening. So I can do like a similar way. I can take the package and import it. Import, say package 4 I have. Say package 4 as like P4 I do. It's easy, right? Every time handling. If I do a dir of P4, now you see what will happen. So Python usage package 4.py. Did you see that in this package, init file is created and you have these packages and other paths. And for the first time, you got like a all, where like, what all things are there. To understand further, maybe like, instead of importing like this, maybe like I will do the other way. So so package 4 import star. This is like a wildcard import. Don't never do that. But like there is something called as a globals. Generally, it will import everything and place in the globals. So if you want to see that globals is like a dictionary. If I say global is different, globals is different. So if I do like a print statement to see that, did you see that entire things? You are getting some things. So means like now you are importing everything. So earlier, did you see that these modules were not imported? Now it is importing. If you want to see further, so from pprint import, there is something called as pp. Instead of a print, if I use a pp, then you will understand better about it. So I think so this is kind of a wildcard import, but generally no one prefers to go for a wildcard imports because it will do the entire things importing. At the same time, so we can also import this package, and you see that. So individually also, you can see it again. So like if I see again, so this P4 means like this is a import, but in a alias. Like that also you can see the list of all attributes. And if you see, it is having the module 1, module 2 also. So individually now you can ask. So individual attributes of it means within this P4 dot module 1, what are like exposed? P4 dot module 1. So similarly, within P4 dot module 2, what all things are exposed? If you see in P1 dot module, module 1, we are exposing only 3, but there are multiple classes. So let's see now what will happen. So you have A, B, C, and D, and all were there. So means like similarly, if you see the second one also, the same thing works. So this is all about the modules, the packages, and all these things. Now the so this is called as pypi.org. So this is the official repository for the Python packages. If you want to see the list of all the files, so there is something called as python.index. If you see that, it will show the list of all things. We can see the existing files, existing packages. If I say like Voto3, which is a very famous for working with Python, so AWS Lambda or AWS Cloud, anything we can work with that. So like that, there are many things like that, modules are there. But if you want to create, first we need to sign up and create an account. So I have signed up and create an account. And in that, once you create an account, we can work on it. So whenever, so it is saying, what is your organization? Every organization, when they're creating, they will give their organization name, display name, URL, and all this information. And where are their projects? So whenever you have a projects, I didn't upload any projects. There were 0 projects. But once we upload any project, we can see that. So how to upload a project, how to get it. So for doing that, let me create a small ecosystem and do it. For that, first we need to check for the module that we want to create. So let's say I want to create a converter. I want to say like, convert. That's the module I want to create. So convert means like it is having different things. Convert 360, convert so and so. So convert is like having multiple things. Maybe like I want to create a tool which can do like converting anything. So for that convert, let's say convert any I want to do. So there is nothing like a converting. So do you mean like convertify? So someone has written a convertify. So to convert units or something. So I'm writing like convert any means like anything if you give, so it will convert. So that is my main motto. So I want to create one package like that. So how to do that? Let's see. So for that, first I need to locally create a folder. So with that particular name and work on it. I created a new folder like this. So with this, I want to work. So whenever I want to work, I need to create one folder within it where I want to write the source code and how I need to compile all of that. So it's a best practice that, so within that someone writes a source code or like I will write like convert any itself. So in that I want to do measurements. Maybe like I will have a main.py. So and any package we need to have a init.py. So this is what we know till now. So initially my aim is that we should do like converting mainly the time zones. So for this convert, if I give like some time, it will take and do it. Say like I'm using import argparse. So using argparse, I want to develop. Argparse concept, how it works. First, we need to create an argparser and we need to pass like an argument, like a time, and we need to give that information. So first I created an argparser. So you give the time in a particular format and create the things. So from that, it will extract what is the time that user has given. So from the time, we need to convert to a time that they can understand. Assume that like I want to do, say convert any and pass like 3 p.m. say like BST. So I need to convert to other time zones. This is what my intention. So for that, first I took the time. I need to first create a time object. It's a string. I need to convert to a time object. As I know that it is of particular thing, I can do like this. I can pass like from date time. So from date time, import date time. So like that we have. So we created a time object. Now based upon the time variously we have, so we need to convert. So for the entire things, I wrote a logic. So for it to be. So if directly you are asking, it will execute. But this is the entire logic. So what I took the same arguments and it's parsing the time what you have given and like you pass on. So it will take like the few time zones. So these are like common time zones. It is converting to all those time zones and it displaying. If there is a DST, it will do that and it not fine. Now, first I will go into this directory. So to understand it, so means like CD into the directory. In the current directory, if I say ls, I have the list of files, which is the main file. So this main file I will execute. So Python main.py executed. Nothing happened because I didn't give any time. So, but like for this, if I pass some argument, so then it will execute. So for that, if I ask like -h, so means like it will not execute by default, right? It will take the argument. So if I pass like time, and if I pass like 3 p.m. BST, so it is taking the input and it need to process. So how it is processing, let's see. So it need to take an argument parser and do it. It should take, so means like this Python code is executing main.py, but it is not running. So that's what I need to see, like why it is not running. So Python file. Uh, if I see what could be the reason, it's a simple file to execute. Because like we can push anything to the repository, but it's not a good practice. Whenever you're pushing, you should do something which is meaningful and having some value. Else there will be too many modules of no use. So, so whatever, assume that this is a logic, so which is not working, which we need to debug. But like, so we can work on it. So they assume that this module is there, and this module we need to push. Anyhow, I will debug that. So we will do. But if you want to push this, what is the way? So first and foremost, whatever you have, that you need to pass like this, and we need to create a README file. For any package, the first and foremost is there should be a README file. So there should be a convert any in that like a README file. So which level you want? So this module. So this package is for converting any measurement to popular types. So popular units. So if it like first we are going for a date time, but others also you want to do. And similarly, there is one more thing we should be aware. So there is something called as a requirements.txt. So next you will see about it. For every package, if you are using some modules, we need to specify that. Basically for time zones, we need a type pytz. So I will write that. And similarly, there is one more important file called as a setup.py file. Means this is your source code, whatever you have. And apart from your source code, we need to have these files which are outside. So init file, sorry, readme file should, yeah, readme file should be outside. Setup.py file should be outside. So requirements also should be outside. Means your main logic should be there inside. So it is like a VS Code, ignore. So this is a setup.py. This is where main the entire logic will work. First, we need to import the setup.py.setup, and there we need to write the name of the package in the setup. So I want to make like, so convert any is my name. So apart from that, what are the versions you have? What is the tool name? So different things that it can do. So for now, I'm taking like a time measurements. I can specify all the things. I am telling like a repository, like a convert any will be created. So for that, it will be pushing. So that's what I am trying to say. Means I need to have a Git repository, but it's not mandatory to have a Git repository. So without that also we can work. So what it is saying, if you want to use it, so this is how we need to use. So convert any. So in that, so you have like a convert any dot main means like in that main there is a main function that we need to execute. That's what you're trying to say. So after that, there is one thing called as setup.bat. So if you are in a Linux, setup.sh we create. If it is Windows, setup.so. So what we need to do is like, so here we need to write the entire scripts. In a bat file, bat script, rem means like command. So first we need to run this line. Python setup.py yes build so and so. And similarly, we need to have the twine. Twine is something which will push to the thing. So then like we need to install that converting. So like first we need to ensure that pip install is twine. Twine is something so which we need to install before using. Means first this setup.py, I will tell you what it does. If I go here, if I go outside, clear the screen, and if I execute it. Now, did you see earlier how many files are there? Now it will create a local list files. So now did you see that it is creating the entire files? So these are called as like, this is a build folder it created and the egg files it created. So, and the dist files it created. In the dist files, there is something called as a dot wheel file, right? This is what is more important. If after getting this wheel file, again you can use in another module directly, or like you can pass it to your reference and use it. So, and if you want to push this wheel file to the project main thing, then you can say like, so this twine should be installed first and we can use it. So if I do like a enter, so I think like something happened here, ignore it. So if I go again to the terminal, yeah. So if I do like a pip install twine, so the twine will be first installed. It is saying that everything is already installed. Now, so if you want to push to the PyPi, then whatever is in the dist folder means this wheel file and tar file, only that you want to push. So for that, we can use this twine upload. If I do twine upload, it will asking me the username and password. If I say the username, did you see when I'm writing the password, you can't see? That is because of get pass only. So, but it is saying that some issue is there with authentication that I need to check. But if I do it again, like, if I go back to see what is my username, so yeah, so my username is wrong. Let me try again. So clear. If I upload again, it is asking the username. And now if I give the password, so it will try to push. Now it is saying forbidden, new POSIT registry temporarily disabled. Means like initially if you create, maybe they will be disabling for time being. After some time we need to execute. So it is saying like retry with this verbose option such that you will get more options. If I do a verbose, now I'm getting like entire details. So query key string for password. Okay. Now it is giving the entire details saying that, hey, new project registry disabled. Means like temporarily it is disabled. Maybe after some time I'll get an access. Then I can do further. So this is how like we create the packages and we do the uploads. So once you get a wheel file, we can use into our internal JFrog repository also we can push.